this is great because no one has ever given me the platform to talk about my love of candy. And I really wanted to talk about it, honestly, for a really long time.
Well, welcome back to the Stories on Tape podcast. I'm your host, Josh Robinson, and today's storyteller, she probably has answered this question more than any other mom. The question is, didn't I just feed you? We'll get into that in just a second. She also makes a very mean candy salad, and is someone I'm very thankful I got to know during my time in Chattanooga. It's the one and only Meghan Splawn. Meghan, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I am very much looking forward to this. You know, I love being a documentarian of life, and I love the concept of collecting people's stories and collecting our own stories too.
Absolutely. Well, I'm very thankful that you have said yes to sharing your stories, because I know you've got some good ones. I've gotten to spend some quality time with Meghan, especially right before I left Chattanooga to move to the city. We'll get into that story as well. It's one of the ones I have on my list. But before we get into any of that, Meghan, do you have a story that you can share with us so we can know who Meghan Splawn is if we have never met you before?
I do. No one should be surprised that I have stories to tell. But one I love, and I've maybe shared this on my Instagram at some point in time, but it is the story of how I actually got into food media. I'm coming up on 20 years of being behind the scenes on food TV shows, on cookbook projects, writing as a freelance writer. I've done a million things, basically anything that exists within the world of food media, from recipe development to food styling, I've done over those 20 years, including hosting a podcast of my own for about 6 years called Didn't I Just Feed You? But it all came about accidentally.
That's honestly, I think, the best things do. That's
Yes.
just how the world works.
So I love to tell it because I think it really encapsulates, one, my just pure curiosity and how helpful that's been in my life, but also the way in which I just show up. So in 2006, I was a student at the New England Culinary Institute. I was working on a baking and pastry degree. And at the time, the New England Culinary Institute required you to do 2 internships. So I had done my first internship at a bakery in Seattle, and I was in my second year of school, and they had a poster on the wall that said, "Come and meet Tammy Cook, culinary director for Food Network show Good Eats." And I swear on my life, it just said come and meet. There was no it's an interview for an internship or they're looking to hire people. It was just meet and greet in my brain. I hope maybe we can manifest that someone I went to school with has the flyer or remembers the flyer, because it's a couple of my friends who I'm still in connection with, who I went to school with, swear that it was very clear that it was going to be an interview.
And you know what? They're wrong.
They're wrong. It's not how I remember it. It's not how I remember it. But despite just thinking it was a meet and greet, I was like, what is a culinary director for a food TV show? What does that even actually mean? And I stuck a resume in my bag just in case. But I spent the entirety of the interview just being so tell me about what a culinary director does. What's your day like? Oh, you have to develop recipes for the TV show. What's a food stylist? All these things that I just didn't understand at the time. 2006, we barely had flip phones. There was no, there was their Instagram even at that point in time.
2006, I was 12, so I don't think so. Okay. Not to make anyone listening feel old, but in 2006 I was 12. Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah. I was 21 for whatever that's worth. So it wasn't I was a spring chicken still.
Absolutely.
Not 12 spring chicken. So I just didn't have this idea. Food Network had been up and running for a while, but I didn't have this idea in my mind about the people who created Food Network shows and how all of that worked. And really, it was really, I was not very familiar with Good Eats, to be quite honest, which Good Eats fans will always be so upset to know because they just love, love, love that show. And if you haven't watched it, it was very different from Food Network shows of the time where it was like Ina cooking in her home kitchen, or Rachel Ray, who was doing like 30-minute meals, and she would go in to the studio and shoot like a whole season over a week. But Good Eats came from this film background. Well, Alton Brown, who's the host, creator, he was a film director before he was a Food Network personality.
Oh.
Yes.
I did not know this.
And he actually didn't want to be the host of Good Eats, but he was trying to like pitch the pilot to Food Network, and he had to step in, and then they were like, well, we can't do the show without you as the host when they bought it. So he really did this thing that was revolutionary for Food Network, which was this storytelling through props, through characters. He created this whole world that was really more almost like a sitcom in the way that there was a set and there's like these reoccurring characters and these reoccurring sort of like tropes, also while still like cooking and bringing science to it. So it would take us 6 weeks to do a series, like to do 10 episodes. So it was like 3 to 4 days per episode versus Rachel Ray is like, I'm doing 6 episodes in one day. So to sit and talk with Tammy Cook, like, about what she did was, to me as a 21-year-old, like wildly fascinating. And then I just was absolutely flabbergasted when she called, because I did leave her with my resume, like, oh, here's my contact info, just in case.
By the way.
Just in case. And said, would you like to come do your internship at Good Eats in Atlanta, Georgia? And I was like, sure, why not? Without ever having been to Atlanta, any of that. And then that turned into my full-time job. I worked for Alton for over 10 years.
Wow. The first time, so I've not heard that full story. That's one, crazy, Meghan. Two, I remember having you on the Daily Refresh, the show that we used to have in Chattanooga for the first time. And I'm sure first or second time, and it came up that you worked on Good Eats. I was a Good Eats fan back in the day, and working with Alton Brown. And I was like, oh, I'm in the presence of a star. I'm now one person away from Alton Brown.
You remain one person away from Alton Brown. For now.
True.
For now. Could get closer.
And then, so tell me about working on that, because I think what I remember from it is the like camera shots in the fridge and in the oven. And it was, like you said, so different from anything else we were watching on Food Network. So did you talk with the people that were doing your job for other shows and see a difference?
No.
Okay.
This is the thing of like the blind curiosity. Like, I'm just going to go in and see what it's like. So I came in as an intern, which was really just like doing a lot of grocery shopping, honestly, and like prepping things. And because I was an intern, I got to like kind of, for lack of a better term, stage. Like staging is a restaurant term where you go and work in the restaurant kitchen for a day or 2 days, so you can like learn from that particular restaurant's like their habits. But I would do that within all the departments of Good Eats. When we were shooting Good Eats, the crew of Alton's production company would expand. There were only 4 full-time employees, which I later became one of the full-time employees. And most of that was the culinary department, and then Alton's producer and his assistant. And when it would expand, there would be like a team of 6 people in the culinary department, people who came in just to do the show. And then there's, of course, the GAF, lighting and grip electric department, which is what my husband does now. And there's a couple of funny stories about that as well. But like in the camera department, all these different departments learning what it took to produce a show like Good Eats. But I spent most of my time in the culinary department, and Vanessa McIntyre is the longtime food stylist for Good Eats. And she was such a great teacher. Very interestingly, she had an art history background, and she never intended to be a food stylist. But the things that you don't think about are that because we were doing things like putting cameras in ovens, putting cameras in fridges, putting cameras a lot of places that they really did not belong.
Right.
We had to sometimes like manipulate the food because the ovens didn't work. On set, the ovens and the refrigerator didn't work. They were props and we had to prop them out. So we were often, if Alton was cooking one part of a recipe, like he's mixing the dough for something, we would have 3 rounds of mise en place, like all those ingredients and all the little bowls on standby. So if he flubbed a line or camera didn't execute the camera move quite the way that he envisioned it, culinary would run in there really quickly and just like reset the whole cooktop, whatever it was. So there was no like playbook for that. It wasn't like I met other food stylists and learned their tricks. I learned a lot from Vanessa. And one of the great things, but also challenging things about Good Eats is that even though we were like essentially cooking in a play kitchen because nothing worked truly, Alton really liked it to always be real food. A lot of food styling can get extreme where it's like a raw turkey and it's painted to look like it's perfectly roast. And we didn't use any of those tricks with the exception of like maybe fake ice cream if it was just in the background of a scene. But anything that we were actually cooking that we were telling people that they could cook at home, we had to be able to pull it off with a little tiny stove in the corner of a sound stage.
Of course.
Yes.
Now I have to ask the fake ice. This you read my mind. The fake ice cream, is it just mashed potatoes that is scooped to look like if it's vanilla ice cream?
Mashed potatoes? No. I mean,
Okay.
In fairness, every food stylist has their own recipe that they like for fake ice cream. A very standard is canned frosting and baking soda. And you just mix it until you get that sort of feather. You can like scoop it with an ice cream scoop and get that sort of feathered texture. Some people use shortening and baking soda. I have heard tell that there are people who like to use mashed potatoes and some kind of fat, whether it's like canned frosting, but I've never actually done that myself.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good to know. For some reason in my head, it's just always been mashed potatoes, and it's because it doesn't melt is the whole reason you're doing this, right?
Yes, it doesn't melt, which is great when someone's holding it and they're like a background character and you have to do 3 or 4 takes of something. Yeah.
Just I also imagine them then licking that on accident, and like I'm sure there's some great bloopers of some show somewhere of a background actor accidentally licking an ice cream cone and it not tasting like ice cream.
There's the notorious like making prop drinks where you're using like soy sauce or food coloring to dye something. And a lot of times it's fake ice on set too. So like they're going to drink it and then suddenly realizing it's like warm soy sauce water.
That gives me gross chills just thinking about that.
Yes.
Oh, I need a whole show of just those reactions. That's our next endeavor, Meghan.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Perfect.
We're on it.
So speaking of prop kitchens and fake things, Meghan was kind enough to come on our show, The Daily Refresh, quite a few times. When your podcast was still going and then towards the end. But what I loved about it was you always had easy, great tips for our viewers that they could use immediately. Like they could turn around that afternoon, go to the store, buy whatever they needed, and their kids' lunch could be the cool lunch. When did you find your knack or find out that you liked doing those kinds of things?
Yeah, I don't know if there's like one particular pivotal moment. I grew up with a single mom, which is kind of an interesting duality because my dad was a restaurant chef and owned restaurants in my life. So like in some summer breaks and winter breaks when I would go visit him, I would have the experience of like being a restaurant kid. But when I was at home with my mom and my brother, I was like very much the other parent having to learn how to cook. I used to make the joke maybe like a little bit of an insult to my mom, that I learned to cook because I was tired of eating hamburger helper and tuna pea wiggle, tuna noodle casserole.
What was the phrase you just used?
Tuna pea wiggle. I think that's what my mom called it. I don't know that it's like a very real thing. But
sure.
I took on the role, like I learned to make the hamburger helper. I learned to make the tuna noodle casserole following the directions on the back of the container. I would start the slow cooker. Like those little things I did to help my mom ultimately led to me having an interest in cooking and cooking as a career. I loved baking even as a kid. But there's something that happened while I was working for Alton. I met my husband. I met him on Good Eats, and I mentioned there's this funny thing of, in an episode of Good Eats, I was a background character marrying Marshall Millard, who was the longtime gaffer for Good Eats, as one of his longtime characters, an FBI agent. So on Good Eats, I married the key grip, and then in real life, I ended up married to a key grip. So I always think that's really funny. And I met Brian, my husband, working on Good Eats. He came in like I did as a PA, a production assistant. And I love this story so much, but I also feel like it maybe paints me in a terrible picture. Because
we all have those moments. We have our moments.
Yes. And it's funny because my kids are really interested in it. So I feel like I'm telling it a lot recently. Brian came on as a production assistant on a season of Good Eats. And the way the Alton studio was set up is there was this giant, beautiful test kitchen with like multiple ranges, multiple ovens. We had all this like open shelving with multiples of like almost every kind of equipment that you could imagine. Plus there was even more culinary storage in another part of the building. But for the rest of the crew to eat luncheon and have coffee and breakfast in the morning and craft service, there was a little teeny tiny kitchen on the other side of the studio close to the production offices. And so production assistants were in charge of like setting up coffee for the next day, making tea water and another pot of coffee in the afternoon. And Brian came into the test kitchen, the culinary department kitchen, and tried to take an electric kettle off of one of the open shelving racks. And I was in the kitchen probably prepping food for the next day's shoot. And I yelled at him. Oh, that I feel so bad. Oh, I don't know if that's telling, but I was like, hey, you can't do that. And I had not met him yet. Like, I didn't know who this stranger was coming into the test kitchen. And he turned around and I was like, you know what? Never mind. You can totally have it. And
it's
in
yours.
His very sweet Southern way, he was like, he's like, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. And that is like how we met. And for me, I think, well, for both of us, like lust at first sight.
Yes.
Yes. So it's very like, I love the story of meeting him through Good Eats and then having the thread of like, I married both of the key grips off of Good Eats, essentially. One in real life and one on TV.
Right. I have to go find this episode now,
Yes.
because I'm sure I've seen it. That's the thing is like, I'm sure.
It's the Punch episode.
The Punch episode. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to look this up.
And then the very first picture of Brian and I together when we were just starting dating and no one knew except we suspect that the wardrobe stylist knew because she put us in a scene together as like background characters. We're dressed in like 1800s garb. And she's like, I just need a picture for record keeping. Like I need to remember in case we have to come back and reshoot this. So the very first picture of us were like dressed as characters on the set of Good Eats. It's very sweet.
I love that. I love that.
But I took us off on a story tangent, but to get us back to your original question of how the practical, like cooking for families came into my life, it was really that I was working full time. Brian was also working full time in film when we started our family. And so we just I had to figure out really quickly, like, how am I going to do all these things that by the way, my single mom did, like pack lunches and have family dinners and make Saturday morning pancakes as a memory. And so I just had to practically like learn how to do that for myself. And then all the years of like doing food TV stuff, it's like I learned so many tricks for making things faster or cuter or making them look great. Like a lot of, I joke that sometimes feeding kids is food styling. Like you burnt the toast and you're going to scrape it off. That's food styling, like, because it's the last piece of toast, you got to do it. So there's some combination of like growing up with a single mom, working in food media, and then just really being in the trenches of being a busy working parent that I figured it out and tried to always come back to it being a joy. Like I feel lucky to feed my family. I feel like it's a privilege to be able to do it, and it's already not lasting forever. Like it's going by so fast. So I like to share that with others too.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that, Meghan. That is, I wish I had a more positive relationship when it comes to like cooking my own food, but boy, does it stress me out.
I know.
And I don't know why. I like can't like I don't know if I have a specific story, but it just like even just like packing a lunch in the morning, I'm like, but I can just go right over there and get it and be done. Do you have any like tips for us adults who are needing to like pack a lunch? Are there easy ways to still make it fun?
Well, first I feel compelled to say that cooking is such a chore. Feeding yourself and feeding others, it's like so much work, and you don't have to like it. Like there's no, just because I like it and it's fun for me, I don't really like doing laundry. If I'm honest about it, I don't want to fold it and I don't want to put it away, but it's one of those things that you kind of have to do. So I would say just in general, and we'll get into specifics around lunch, but like anything that you can do at any point along the way, from like planning what you're going to cook to grocery shopping to the actual cooking, to either decrease your like friction, your decision making, or like actually having to do work, or to make it pleasurable, you should do. Like I meal plan with a fun drink on Friday afternoons because it's like enjoyable. It's like I'm partnering a task that can be annoying some weeks, or I don't want to do some weeks, with something fun to motivate myself. But also I always tell people like buy the pre-chopped onions, or buy the like frozen minced garlic, buy the already cooked chicken. Like even if you're not chopping everything from scratch and cooking everything, it's still cooking. You're still getting to the objective of feeding yourself.
Oh, that calms me a little.
Yes.
That definitely. You just said laundry, and I have sheets in the dryer downstairs. So, texting Travis.
Yes, well, you have the second.
We have,
yeah.
So we have things to sleep on tonight.
Because isn't that the worst? When you get to the end of the day and you're like, there's no sheets on the bed, I'm going to scream.
Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And laundry is my least favorite chore.
Yes.
So
even less than cooking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See?
Mm-hmm.
I can relate
so
to that.
Already better.
Yes.
Already better. Okay, I want to be a little selfish for a second, and you might not have an answer to this. Do you remember how, because I don't think I do, how we first like got connected and came to know each other?
Yeah, it was our friend Michael Carosa of
You're so right.
Podnuga.
Mm-hmm.
I like spoke at a little podcasting group in Chattanooga, and then I think maybe the next day in email he was like, Meghan, Josh, Meghan, and you had me come on the show without ever having seen me cook in any live capacity, by the way. Like just a total trust.
Full faith. Full trust.
Faith.
Absolutely.
I also think you just were trying, you had to fill time, and you're like, what's the worst that could happen?
That can happen. Because if anything, it's funny television, and we move on because it's live. So there's nothing we can do about it.
Do you have a memory from Daily Refresh years of any, you don't have to name names or anything,
Sure.
But especially because it is not a real kitchen set, or it was not a real kitchen set, like Good Eats, of people showing up and it going poorly or going wrong, especially in the kitchen?
We did have someone show up one time with a like, is it a butane powered griddle? Is that a thing?
Yes.
And like,
or propane.
Propane, probably.
Yes.
Some power, because we would always tell people, you either need to bring it pre-made or like all of the ingredients need to be ready to be put together. And like we can either like make it and talk, or it can be made and then we can just like point and you talk about whatever we're showing. Well, someone for whatever reason showed up with a griddle, and I believe they cooked hamburgers in the studio. And if you've ever cooked a hamburger, that's a lot of like steam and thing. Yeah. And so we were very concerned that the smoke alarm was going to go off, which would then trigger the sprinklers. And a TV studio is just full of electronic equipment
that cannot get wet, to be clear.
Correct. So it would have been not good. It didn't, thankfully, but there is a news station clip where that did happen.
Yes.
And the like fire department shows up, and it was the morning show. So that like 8 a.m. the fire department shows up at a news station.
What a way to start the day. Yes.
Right?
That makes me laugh because one of my last segments on the Daily Refresh, we were making 4th of July treats. Actually, my kids came with me for that one. That was really fun. And I brought a little electric grill to try to plug in on set to like warm up these s'mores cones.
Yes.
To make them ooey gooey for live time. And you were like, we cannot. I was like, oh, okay. Like, even electric? You're like, nope, none of that. No grills. And now I'm understanding why. I think I used the toaster oven. I relied on the toaster oven in the break room. In the break room.
Yes.
Several times.
But I also had to always tell, because we had lots of like local restaurants and like different people like that on. And I would always have to say, you do not want me trying your food, because the whole reason you're here is to get people to come eat your food. And I have the palate of a 6-year-old. And I will make a face, not because the food is bad, but because I just don't eat many different foods, and especially if there's a weird texture. And so I would always give it to Sierra or Diamond, because they would eat anything.
Yes.
And it just worked out for the best.
And it became a bit, too, to try to get you to cook on the Daily Refresh.
This is very
Not
true.
me necessarily, but definitely other people.
Oh yeah. Like I would have nothing to do with the interview, and then on air, Sierra or Diamond would be like, Josh, come over and try this. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. Yes. It was something for sure. And then we had you on our final episode of the Daily Refresh.
Yes.
I was so thankful that you said yes. And you, I want to get into the candy salad.
Okay. Do you?
Why did this start? Are you still doing it? Is it something that's more of a special occasion now? Give us the rundown.
Okay. First, this is great because no one has ever given me the platform to talk about my love of candy. And I really wanted to talk about it, honestly, for a really long time.
Yeah.
So there are a couple reasons I love candy. First of all, as a person who like really enjoys food history and food science, to think about all of the technological advancements, agricultural advancements that it has taken for us to think of candy, something that requires sugar, corn syrup, citric acid, gelatin, like very specialized equipment to make it as cheaply as we make it. Like that we think of it as something that's for children. It blows my mind, actually. I'm like, you guys don't understand. It's so rich with history. Plus, it's very joyful. And it's cheap and cheerful. Like that is why one of the reasons I love candy. And I also think it's very like inner child healing. Mm-hmm. Remember when you were a kid and you were like, when I have adult money, I'm going to go to the grocery. I'm going to buy all the candy I want. I'm going to have as many candy bars. I'm going to have the full-size candy bars. And how many adults are actually doing that? I'm going to tell you, not very many, because I get comments from time to time on Instagram in particular when I make candy salad where they're like, people feel really conflicted about sugar. And I understand that. There's a lot of research that to support the idea that like a diet that's incredibly high in sugar is bad for your health. But if you're like eating candy alongside eating other nutritious food, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. So like have your joy and also eat your vegetables. Those things can coexist together. So that's my like soapbox about candy. Like heal your inner child, enjoy your joy, and like that puts everything into balance. I didn't come up with the idea of candy salad. It started as a TikTok trend. And then we tried it because we talked about it on an episode of Didn't I Just Feed You? And sometimes what would come out of Didn't I Just Feed You was like trying it out, because I did have a weird reaction to seeing it. Originally sort of started as a party trend.
Right.
And I love children. I especially love my children. But kids are gross. And if you put a bowl of candy out at a party, it is just going to become a bowl of candy and germs.
I've never thought about that part of it, Megan. Oh, no. Yeah, you're so right.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I'll try it. But I still, for a long time, held the strong opinion that it is not. Like, you make candy salad for your family, for your inner circle, or you make a small batch for yourself. It's not really like a party treat, in my personal opinion. So I've been I was doing monthly candy salads for almost a year, I think, starting last summer, maybe.
Okay.
But to be honest, I'm kind of burnt out on making candy salad. And it's a really interesting thing. If anyone listening or watching has had the experience of like having a household where things are restricted, or like you don't get treats all the time, my kids experience none of that. Like there are always treats in the house, and more so than candy salad, there's usually homemade treats. And so candy salad like hangs around for a long time in our house, and then I get kind of tired of it. And then I'm like, oh, I should make another one because there's new candies to try. So there may be at some time in the near future a final candy salad on my Instagram, a farewell funeral to candy salad. Wow. Just from a content standpoint, even.
Sure.
Like I think we can move on from it now. I've done enough.
It was It was a lot of fun though. It was a really like it was really fun to watch you do it, because you would either like link it to a holiday, or we do all green candy salad, all red candy salad. I thought it was a really smart way to like continue a trend, but you also made it your own, which I really liked, because it was like people were sharing some like very personal things when the trend originally started.
Yes, the trauma dumping candy salads became a trend too.
Yeah. So I think for the final episode of the Daily Refresh, I think we just did like some of our favorite moments.
Yeah, we tried to call it like sweet memories.
That's right.
Candy salad.
Yes.
And that was really
so
fun.
much fun. And I always looked forward to having you on the show, because one, it was just fun and very different from anything else we normally had on. And two, I knew that like we could throw almost anything at you and you could throw it right back. And I'm sure on more than one occasion we were like, hey, can you just talk for longer?
Yes.
And you were always like, yeah, sure.
I'd come in with the idea that I maybe had 2 or 3 minutes. I think maybe one of the first segments I got cut really short. So I was like, okay, next time, don't prepare so much. And then like the 3 or 4 segments down the road, you're like, we need to fill 8 minutes. What do you got? It's like,
how can you do that, please? And
we'll just go
you.
Slow. Yes. I can unsurprisingly fill 8 minutes with just yapping about food and making you guys assemble sandwiches or decorate cupcakes.
Yes. And I also don't have decorating skills either. So that was always a lot of fun too, was like, look at Megan's pretty well done cookie cupcake. And let's now watch Josh, Sierra, and Diamond, the toddlers, attempt to recreate that. And it never went according to plan, but that's what makes the best TV.
I also think that's important journalism, right?
You heard it here first, folks.
Important.
You heard it here first.
Listen, I struggle with, especially in the world of like having come from old school food media before there was really social media, to now like there's so much social media. There's so much beautiful food. They're people who really like understand how to get certain angles of things. Like I can make it beautiful because I have 20 years of experience, 10 of which was like working on magazine shoots, on cookbook shoots, on TV shows, making food look beautiful. But like if the home viewer makes it look more like yours or somewhere in between ours, perhaps, I think that you've taught them as much as I've taught them how to do it. You're like, here's the realistic expectation of what it'll look like.
And let's be honest, if it tastes good, great. Like you said, it's all about like that's probably how I was as a child. If I looked at something and it didn't look appetizing, I'm not going to touch it. And let's be real, I'm still like that at almost 31. But yeah, I think I learned that with you on the show was also just like, just do it. Just have fun. It is what it is, and at the end of the day, if you eat it, great. Then like, it's okay.
Yes.
We're gonna be fine.
So, do you feel like in your life, Travis needs some food styling skills so he can get you to eat more foods? You're unlocking this idea that maybe like parents of picky eaters or partners of picky eaters, they just need to learn some food styling tips and like maybe some food marketing tips to get y'all to try more things.
This is not a bad idea. And I don't know. The short answer is yes. The long answer is I don't know how we do that.
Yes.
But no, yeah. If it just like, yeah, if I think if it looked appetizing, I would have a better chance of trying it.
Yes. But a chicken tender doesn't really... Like, it's a brown
Talk about
shape.
it, Meghan. Talk about it.
It's kind of craggly. Yeah. I mean, actually, it is kind of beautiful in the world of, like, crispy fried foods. But, like, I'm not saying it doesn't look unappetizing, but I could see how it's, like, not as... To me, it's not as beautiful as, like, a fresh, in-season peach.
Sure.
But do you know what it is? It's that it's consistent. You always know, even the worst chicken tender is still going to taste like chicken with breading on it. And a peach could be sweet or it could be sour.
It could have bugs in it.
It could have a soft spot. It's like a fear of the unknown in trying new foods for you.
And I don't do well with unknown, Meghan. I like knowing exactly where we're going, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and when it's done.
I'm curious if you have any family stories about you being a picky eater and how that impacted like holidays and eating
Meghan,
together as a family.
How much time do we have here together?
It's your show. You tell us.
So I grew up in a family of like, you will finish your plate, or at least you will try a bite of everything on your plate. And so there were a few nights where I would sit at the table crying because I didn't want to try whatever was in front of me. And there are I have 3 little sisters, so there's 4 of us. So I know at a certain point, I'm sure my parents were like, you know what? Fine. We started once like my sisters were old enough to like safely use the microwave and whatever. They were called whatever you can find nights.
Yes.
And if you could find it and make it,
fend for yourself night is what it was called in our house. Yes.
Exactly. And so like whether it was a bowl of cereal, leftovers, if you wanted to make
PB&Js.
Exactly.
Yes.
My middle sister loves like all noodles, all pasta. So she would like, whip up some, I don't even know, like spaghetti, or like she's a big steak fan. I don't know if she ever cooked a steak, but yeah, it got to the point where like we would have spaghetti growing up, and I'm not a big noodle person. I'll eat spaghetti. It's not my favorite though. So my mom would just leave some of the ground beef out of the sauce, and that was my dinner.
Yeah.
I would just eat cooked ground beef, not even like meatballs, just like chopped up ground beef out of the pan.
I know exactly what you're talking about because I have a kiddo who is not a big fan of sauce. So anything where there would be a sauce on it for a period of time had to be cooked without sauce first and then tossed in the sauce.
Oh.
And it's the mystery. Like you don't know what's in the sauce. right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, I don't know what's in there. So now as an adult, my big thing is my food doesn't touch. I don't like the divided plate was made for me. So at Thanksgiving, I have my ham, my mashed potatoes, my sweet potato casserole, a roll, and that's usually it. So I eat the beige food group, which I don't like necessarily endorse that being your diet, but I don't like my food to touch. And I know it's all going to the same place, but that is just who I am.
And I think I just want to reiterate, we've talked about this many times. Like, it doesn't bother, even as a food person who, like, I now can't relate. I definitely had picky eating as a kid. I still have things I don't love to eat. But I think you're, like, allowed to not like what you don't like or want things the way you want them. And it's just as true for you as a almost 31-year-old as it is for our kids too, right? Like, they're allowed to, like, not like things, and you can trust their taste. And I hate to say, you might be like the perfect archetype for parents who are, like, really stressed because their kids are not eating enough fruits and vegetables. Like, you still grew up, you're still a fully formed human who has a job and has a partner, and, like, you're living life.
And speaking of partner, he's here.
Oh, we get a Travis cameo.
No, you're not in the shot. He's carrying our sheets. Yes, I am 6'4". I don't know if the chicken tenders did that for me or not.
There's a good chance.
But
They
there's a
didn't.
good chance.
They didn't hurt. Is the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They didn't slow me down at all.
Yes.
So
Not knowing what's in things has kept me, even now as an adult, I really can't get into mayo-based salads.
Okay.
Unless I make them, like a potato salad, a chicken salad, a tuna salad. It's not for me. It's not the thing I would choose.
Sure.
And for a long time, I didn't like mayonnaise. I think being in culinary school and making mayonnaise from scratch was the thing that was like, oh, it's just eggs and oil, essentially, like, whipped together. But even still, like, I don't want a mystery salad.
Was there, in culinary school, was there something like that you found out, like, oh, this thing is just these ingredients put together that, like, blew your mind? Because when I found out that's all mayonnaise is, I'm like, that doesn't make sense, though. Like, how do those two things get stirred up fast enough and then create this thing?
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about that if you really want to. I mean, it's an emulsion, Josh. It's an emulsion. It's oil particles and lecithin and suspension. That's how those things come to be. So the mayonnaise is the one where it was like it actually changed my taste, because I grew up, like, I would have butter on sandwiches, or I would have dry sandwiches, because it's a blob of white blob. I don't know how to describe it any other way, like, in my kid mind. And so then as a like 21-year-old, 20-year-old, I was like, oh, it's just eggs and oil. Like, it took the fear out of it. But it really reinforced the idea that eggs are just these incredible ingredients for me. Like, I think meringue and making meringue frostings, it's still magic that it like works every time I do it. That it goes from, like, the opaque sort of weird slime of an egg white to, like, a fluffy bright white meringue. It blows my mind every single time. And I understand the science of why it happens, like how the proteins trap the air, the sugar particles help with suspension and incorporating the air, all those things. But, like, every time I'm just like, wow, nature did that. Nature in a KitchenAid, you know?
And put them together, and what do you got? A meringue. Well, see, and this is why we're going to throw it back to Good Eats for just a second. This is why I love Good Eats, because I love a math and science. I love a do this, and you get this outcome every time. And I think that's what made me excited to watch that show for years, was just because that's how it was drawings on the screen, and it was also, like you said, storytelling. And I didn't know that he had a film background, so this all like makes a lot more sense now. I love knowing those kinds of things, because it's like, I don't think a lot of people think about it. Obviously, a lot of people don't think about it that way. And so when you do find out, you're like, I could make this at home if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think that's one of the things I love about food. Even if you're not a person who loves to try new foods or who loves to cook, it really does like have an entry point for anyone. Like my son is very into history, and so a lot of times we'll talk about the history of foods, or like how food impacted things like wars, which he's like very interested in. So there's the like manufacturing, marketing part of it. There's the art of food, because it is a creative endeavor. There's just like some entry point for everyone, even if you don't really want to be like a great home cook or feed yourself. So
yes. And we've mentioned your kids a couple times. Growing up, my house, for my friend group specifically, like was the hangout spot. It was where a lot of people came over. You know, we had the pool in the backyard. Is your house the cool house? Because getting to know you, I would think it is.
Yes. I can't take all of the credit for it being the cool house, to be clear. I feed everyone. There's always snacks. There's always candy salad. I can always pull like a pizza off, or pull a frozen pizza out of the freezer and cook it. So everyone is well fed at our house, and we like that. But then my husband has also contributed to it being the fun house. We have a trampoline. We have a giant dining room table that's actually a regulation size ping pong table, because I wanted a big table to host my husband's family. There are 15 of us when we're all together.
Whoa, okay.
And then he was like, but if it's that big, like, can it also be a ping pong table? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's not like, it is nice to be the hangout house because you can feed everyone, and that's certainly a component of it. But it's also the everything else. Like, we're happy to help our friends and neighbors if they need kid coverage, and we can do that. And I'm a homebody, so like I like having a house where we can host and people come to us, and then we can tell them to leave when it's time.
We love you. Go away.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it takes more than just food to be the hangout house, and clearly your family knew that.
Yes. The Just Dance on the Wii was big around that time, and so there were a lot of like competitions. We had memorized several of the dances, pool parties, of course, and then just like, because there were 4 of us, there were like kids of all ages, so like everyone had someone to hang out with, and so like it just worked. And I love those memories. And now my parents have actually just semi-recently renovated our house a little bit, and so now the downstairs is literally just one big room. Like our living room and kitchen are just one big room, and I'm like, the fun we could have had if that had been, probably more the chaos that would have ensued.
My POV was like, oh, I understand why they waited.
They were like, get all of them out of the house.
Yes.
And then we can have the nice things. No, you're right. You're so right.
We have like we call it the great room. It's like our dining room, a little music room, our kitchen. They're all kind of connected. But even having a tiny bit of separation from the kitchen, and like the kids coming and going down from the basement, from outside, wherever they're going, like, it's nice to have that separation. And I can be like, the kitchen's off limits, no running through with the Nerf guns. So I could imagine having a fully open area.
Yeah.
With the 4 of you and all your friends running through. Mm-hmm. Probably more visits.
Well, so lucky for me, our mom worked for an orthopedic surgeon for a long time. And so we had the hookup there, which did come in handy a few times. It did.
For you?
Yes, for me once.
Okay.
We were playing Capture the Flag in the backyard, and our pool is kind of like a very, very, very small hill. Like, it's on the top of it. Like, it's 2 steps and you're on the top of it. But the other side was like a big retaining wall. And so there was like bricks stacked up, and there were flower beds and things over there to make it look pretty. And I was running from someone uh, stop listening if you're squeamish. Are you squeamish, Megan?
No,
Is this
I'm
gonna,
not.
like, freak you? Okay, great. Stop listening if you're squeamish for 15 seconds. And I jumped, and when I landed, the doctor, the best way he could describe it is my leg went one way and my kneecap went the other, and it just like split my knee open. But as soon as I straightened my leg, it went right back together. So it looked like a giant chunk of my knee was missing, but it wasn't. It had just like, the force had just like,
Wow.
yeah. So I got 4 stitches inside of my knee and 12 on top, and it's a pretty scar.
I was going to
I
say,
think
do
it's
you
on
have
my
a
other
cool
leg.
scar?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So that, and then summer before freshman year of college, I was playing dodgeball with my youth group, and I fell and I tried to catch myself. And I complained about my hand hurting for weeks, and my mom was finally like, okay, we'll go to the doctor. And so one of the other people that worked there came out, and he like squeezed on my hand, and he squeezed like in between, like the part in between my thumb and my wrist, and I was like, ow, that really hurt. And he's like, yeah, it's broken. And I was like, Mom? She was like, I'm so sorry. So I had a cast for like the rest of the summer, and then I went to college for like 3 weeks with this really gross like plastic like brace thing. But I went to school in Arkansas, so Arkansas in August is just hot and gross, and so it was really gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you, I mean, you're very extroverted now, but like going into college, was that hard to be like in a cast and feel weird and maybe like you were stinky from the sweaty cast and meet new people?
It wasn't so much the cast, and I was very lucky. A big number of people that I went to church with, actually, we went to college together. So I had like a set group of friends already, and then we all like kind of dispersed and found our people. But that was helpful. But my mom does say, and I do not remember this, but I believe her, that I called home every day the first 2 weeks of college.
Aww.
Because I was like, well, partly because every day senior year of high school, I would like go to their bedroom, and we would just like debrief about the day.
Right.
And so I had obviously gotten into that routine. And so for like the first 2 weeks of college, I apparently called home every day.
Because you needed to. You were processing a lot. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the kind of thing like you hope for as a parent. You're like, I hope the thing where I can be a support to them can continue even when they've left the house.
Well, even to this day, my mom's one like request in college was like, once we kind of figured out our schedule, I called her every Monday for 5 minutes, 15 minutes. It didn't matter how long. She just like wanted to check in. And I still do that to this day.
Monday morning meeting. That's where that came from.
Look at, wow. It does tie back. It does. Yeah. It's usually in the afternoon,
Okay.
But yes, I call my mom and sometimes it's like a 45-minute conversation, and sometimes it's 2 minutes, and we're just like, you good? You good? Okay, great. Love you. Bye. And we also have a very active family group text message. And so like we're still communicating throughout the week, but that is like a set every Monday.
Does the family group message have a name?
It's called My Peeps.
Okay, that's cute. That's cute.
Yes.
Does that relate
Yes,
to the duck, your duck tattoo? I know there's a connection.
No, that honestly, the duck tattoo, it was February, a flash sale that they were doing at Mainline Tattoo in Chattanooga. And I was like, you know what? It's cute. And it does, I think the little hat that it's wearing, I'll show a picture of it here on the screen. The little hat that the duck is wearing kind of looks like the old like nurse's hat.
Okay, that's the connection to your mom. I remember
Yes.
you talking about this at Brothers
And my
Bagels.
mom, yes, and my parents met in nursing school. So I like kind of, but like it also could just be a sailor hat. But in my brain, for some reason, when I look at it every time, I'm like, oh, that's one of those like old timey nurses hats from back in the day. So that wasn't the reason I got it, but it is kind of like it could be if I wanted it to be like a little nod to my mom and dad, because yes, they met in nursing school. None of their children went into the health field, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had enough of it growing up.
Correct.
Yes.
I want to ask, your kids probably have the coolest lunches at the lunch table every day, yes or no?
Oh, I don't know. What's the cool is such a weird barometer.
Sure. I think one of the most well put together lunches.
Yes, I think that
Okay.
could be true. So my 13-year-old is homeschooling. So she is
Okay.
on a journey to learn how to feed herself this year. She's in 8th grade. She will go back into a public school for high school. And so we're like working on that. And that'll be really interesting. But my 10-year-old, my 5th grader, he gets a packed lunch. He does not want school lunch. And it's this
Okay.
really interesting thing where my husband will sometimes comment. He's like, oh, none of the other kids are getting salmon and rice and edamame for their lunch. And like, I don't think that they fully grasp how well they eat and like the access that they have to food, to trying new treats, to not having the pressure to try new foods, because it's all that they know. But I do think it's interesting because my son he'll see me on my Friday meal planning with my fun drink. We'll be like, can I have salmon and rice cakes this week? Can I have pub subs? Which, if you've lived anywhere near a Publix, you might know that their pub sandwiches are beloved. And you can buy the sub rolls in the bakery. And so we'll do that and like make little pub subs for lunches. And even that's like a very basic sandwich. But I think that it's like intentional bread choice and like the filling choice makes it feel more put together.
Absolutely. It looks a little fancier than just like a square piece of white bread with some PB&J on it.
Which honestly, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Love a PB&J. Grape jelly, though. Grape jelly, smooth peanut butter.
Okay, I did not grow up in a grape jelly household, so I cannot relate.
What, were you strawberry?
We always had strawberry, but
Okay.
And also my mom, actually both my parents are from the Northeast, but my mom is from Vermont, where a fluffernutter sandwich, so marshmallow cream and peanut butter is like the thing. And that was the real top tier peanut butter sandwich in our house. But I agree on the smooth peanut butter. I'm not a crunchy gal.
I don't do crunchy. We're going so many left turns, and hey, we're telling stories, so that's fine. I actually just went to Vermont for the first time a couple weeks ago.
Where'd you go?
Weston.
Okay. Weston? What part of Vermont were you in?
Or Sugarbush?
Sugarbush? Yes.
Yes. So around that area, one of our good friends got married. And it was beautiful. They're big, like outdoorsy people. They run for fun. Like it's something they enjoy doing together. And they also ski at Sugarbush.
Yes.
And so their ceremony was at the top of one of the ski lifts. So we all got to ride the ski lift up, and then the bride came up the ski lift, and it was beautiful and so cool and so special. So Vermont is stunning, I have to say.
It is beautiful.
I hope I can make it down for a fall, down. I don't know where.
Around, make it around.
Around. During the fall, because I hear leaf peeping is just top tier there.
It really is. It really is. But also summer, did you have a maple creamy?
I did have a maple creamy. I had 2 of them actually, and it had like a little. I went to the Vermont country store, and it had like the little wafer in it too.
Yes. I
delicious.
love a maple creamy. Oh,
Yes.
The other food thing I really love in Vermont, I mean, it's got a great food culture in general. The New England Culinary Institute, where I went to culinary school, is in Montpelier, the capital. And
Okay.
my dad lived there, so I used to do, as a kid, like summer and winter breaks in Vermont. And then I lived there for culinary school as like a young adult. I lived there. Snack shops, like little, like sometimes it's a house, sometimes it's like a little roadside stand where you can get hand cut fries and burgers. Like I don't think anywhere else does it the same way that Vermont does.
Love that. I'm gonna have to go back now. Is all, and it wasn't a bad drive. Like driving around, it was beautiful. It was just, I was surprised. I don't know what I was expecting, but like it was stunning. It was so special. And Travis spent several summers there, and so it was a really cool like, let me show you around.
Yes, in
like
Sugarbush in particular.
In Weston.
Okay.
And hold on. I'm gonna yell at him. Travis.
Because we're confirming it's Weston.
I don't know. he might have his headphones in, and so he won't be able to hear me. I'm pretty sure I think he would have yelled if he was hearing us.
Yes.
But I think because it's the Weston Theater Company.
That makes sense. I might just not be remembering. That's also
no, that's okay. It's like kind of a summer stock, but they do shows I think year round. But he worked there in the summer for a few summers, and so it was a really special like weekend too, just to like see where he like met all of these people that he's still very close with, and so it's a really special place for him, and so I'm sure it will become a very special place for us as well. So I'm really it's really cool.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
That's so sweet.
I wanted to bring up the like one real time we got to spend like quality time together. Brothers Bagels in Chattanooga, shout out Brothers Bagels. That was a really special day for me, and it really meant a lot that you took the time to like sit down with me and have like what we're doing right now is one of my favorite things, is to just chat and like learn more about someone who like I think is a really cool person. So I want to know how they became that really cool person. So what is your remembrance of like that day, that conversation?
Yeah, I loved that I came prepared to like talk business, because the impetus was sort of like you wanted to work on your social media, get back into your YouTube channel, work on projects just like this, and you were wanting just some like guidance, which is always, I love doing that for people. And then it's always funny because a lot of times I get into those conversations with people and they already know, but having someone who like to confirm that feels good. But so I thought like, it'll be quick. Like we'll go over these things, and then I'm sure Josh has other really cool things to do on his weekend day.
He didn't.
And then we sat for like 2 hours.
Yes,
like
I think
a whole
so.
turn of multiple turns of the restaurant. And I love that. Like I love when you can get lost in a conversation, but also like be found in it too. Like you learn about the other person, you learn about yourself through conversations. So yeah, and anytime I get into a conversation with someone and lose track of time, I think is like top tier.
Yes. Agreed. It is truly one of my favorite things. I did it with my friend Molly Kate this weekend. She left this morning, so last night we were just kind of like debriefing just about life in general. I was like, oh, this will be a quick conversation. An hour and a half later, I was like, I'm so sorry, friend. I have to go to sleep. Like, I have to be up at 6 a.m. I love you so much. And we had pretty much wrapped it up, and I was like, I have to go to bed now. But it's so special. And then, like you said, just having someone that's done the thing that you are wanting to know more about and has done it successfully for a while, and then being able to share the tips and tricks so maybe you can avoid a couple of the pitfalls is also just something I'm always so appreciative of, especially in like media TV world, because it is one of those things that people look at and they're like, how do you do it? And I always say like, you just have to.
Yes.
Like there's no other, like, you're not going to fall into it. Like, you know, you're not going to be discovered one day. It's just like, you have to put yourself out there. And then one of my least favorite things, you have to like watch yourself and listen to yourself and figure out, how do I make that sound better than the one time before it?
Yes. And isn't that a weird, like it's a very weird, wild experience when you see yourself outside of yourself? Maybe you have a different relationship to it on being on TV, but like once I there's the weird experience of editing your own, whether it's your podcast, whether it's your YouTube channel, or for me, it's a lot of like social media videos. Like if I have to hear myself say Aldi one more time, I'm going to lose it.
Yep.
And then you like release it into the world and it is its own thing, and you kind of don't have control over it anymore.
I've had recently like 3 posts get over 100,000 views, which is huge for me.
That's huge. I do this all the time where I'm like, oh, 25,000 followers is not that much. Like that's near what I have right now. But like I would, to talk to that many people, like 100,000 people in real life, Josh.
And someone pointed this out. They were like, okay, 500 followers doesn't sound like a lot. If you had 500 people in a room, you would like have a full auditorium.
Yes.
You would have like a crowd of people. And I'm like, that's such a good way to look at it.
It is.
Yeah.
So, but having that experience has been wild.
It's very interesting because like you said, after a certain point, people do like, I posted a TikTok of the mega mix of Mamma Mia that's now on Broadway, and they sing, like 4 ABBA songs back to back to back, and people are letting their opinions be known about everything in that clip, and there's no way I can't field any of it. There's just no way I could control or go through any of that. So it's a very interesting thing of like, my face isn't in it, so like that's nice, but I am claiming it as my video. So it's a weird, like, I hope people at the end of the day just like stay civil, and like I hope we don't like escalate this into something that like kind of gets scary.
Yeah, I hope you don't either. And my experience has been overwhelmingly positive the few times that I've gone viral. But there will be conversations like in the comments that you can't control. I had a reel go viral maybe the beginning of this year, and people are still debating whether frozen vegetables are as nutrient dense as fresh vegetables in the comments. Like on the daily, people are coming to that. And for whatever reason, that's the first comment they're seeing, and they are like getting in there. And I'm also like, what is happening in your world that you feel the need to defend me in the comments section or share your opinion?
And then you also had one about cookies.
Yes.
Tell us that story.
Yeah, that was my first, I've had one other post. I've been on Instagram for 10, 11 years. Oh, longer than that. Maybe 14 years. If I'm thinking back, I've been on Instagram for 14 years, and I've maybe had one other post that got over 1 million views. And even that one is like the thing of, I was trying to describe something, and instead of saying molasses, I said molassy because I was trying to talk so quickly. And every time I have to go back to it, I'm like, freaking molassy. But around December last year, I shared this tip. I've shared it before, almost the exact same version, same steps, same footage. I even reused some of the footage from the old reel. And it is went like over 3 million views. It's a tip about rolling out sugar cookie dough while it's still pliable. A lot of recipes will tell you to let it firm up in the fridge in a disc, but then it's like a pain to roll out. So if you just roll it out first and then let it chill in the fridge, it's much easier to roll out and easier. You just end up with more tender cookies overall, which is great, I think, for sugar cookie. But it ended up over 3 million views. And then it was the really weird experience of, a lot of times my husband is gone, like your husband is gone for work. And I'm like having this weird experience of like millions of people coming to my page, tens of thousands of new followers. And like, I'm still just cooking dinner for my children. And they're complaining about it. Like, you still have to live your life.
Yes. It is such a weird. I've had because of those videos, I've had I'd probably say 100 new followers, but it is and now I'm gonna get on the subway and go to this part-time job that I have, and that's just because I think I have to also remind myself at the end of the day, if I'm not having fun with it, there's no point to do it.
Yes.
Because that's what that I'm supposed to just be sharing things that I love, so that other people can either share what they love, tell me why they love it. We can, I've made a new friend. I'm going to see a Broadway show next week because of my posts on social media. They were like, hey, I just moved to the city. I'm always looking for a theater buddy. I was like, hey, I haven't seen this show. Would you want to go? And so we're going to see a show. So it's really neat to see how it can connect you. Although we are hearing that social media makes lonely as well. I think it in the way you use it, it can be very helpful in just getting yourself out there and having new experiences too.
Yeah. I hope we'll see sort of a pendulum swing as there's more AI content on social media too, where originally social media was a place to be connected. We weren't just consuming all this content. And I think once there's so much the content saturation, we really will be trying to find events near us, find community on those apps and in those places, and then take it into real life. So it's actually very heartening to hear you say, I have these TikToks that are going viral, and it brought me a new friend. Like that's
Yeah.
the point, and that's what makes it be fun again, which is how it all started.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll fingers crossed that keeps happening. Wow, we've gone down so many rabbit trails and so many stories, but that's
Just a
what I
couple of
love.
yappers, just
a
yapping.
Okay, so I think the other cool thing you've mentioned your meal prepping with your fun drink. You also from time to time will share. You will do like doodles with them, and I think it tells a beautiful story. Thank you. What made you want to combine those things and then share it on social?
I have always been a journaler. Like I recently with my 13-year-old found my like 5th grade poems notebook.
Yes.
I do the thing of like I had these big feelings and I would write poems about them and I like go read them to my mom, and I think some of them are incredibly dark and my mom was probably like, what? What is
Do we
happening?
need to find somebody for her to talk to?
Yes, probably. Probably should have. But I have been lucky through social media to have friends who are artists. My friend Amy Williams, who has a YouTube channel called Amy Y'all. She's she's an artist, like a classically trained artist, and she uses a journal to do like daily sketches or junk journaling. It's just like this beautiful art book. And I guess it was a year and a half ago or so, I was watching one of her YouTube videos and going from my own journal where I would write my daily refresh prep list, and I would like plan out where I was putting each recipe on the island on the set. Like I was already doing some doodling, but something in the video that she shared made me go, oh, I can like just have a journal or a notebook that's like purely for art. And if I buy a small one, like I can just experiment and see what comes out of like creating a daily journal practice. It's the thing of capturing stories. I have this idea in my head that my story is important to me. It's also how I like process my feelings, whether to talk about it or draw about it, but that it might also be important for my kids. Like I do so much capturing memories and photos and videos, but I'm always on the other side. So like, will there be a time when I'm no longer here and they want to know what their childhood was like from my POV or looping back to what we were talking about, you think your parents are having this one experience, but maybe it's something totally different, and getting a deeper understanding when you're older could be helpful. So I have this ideal that will be part of it. But doing this little, I call it my food and feelings journal, because that's what came out of it. When I would sit down every day, it was like either I was inspired by something we ate, something I was cooking, a freelance recipe development project I was working on, or I was like having really big feelings and needed to like draw it out or write it out. And so then it just became like a lens or a different way to share the meal planning and like cooking that I was doing anyways. But it's weird. It's the weird, you create it and then you share it, and then it's weird to experience other people's lens on it, because I think of myself as a creative person, but not an artist. And so when people are like, I love your drawings, I love your art, I'm like, oh, it's amateur hour over here. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm literally just doodling. Sometimes I hate the pages that I share, but it's like a funny story, like it's a funny moment, or it's like a very real moment. So yeah, it's just been a creative practice that is very low stakes, but also documents our life in a way that feels fun and exciting to me still. Maybe it takes the place of candy salad.
There it is.
In some way.
We're finding the new we're finding the new candy salad.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And I think I should have made this connection sooner, but I think we can all agree that food is such a great way for stories to be shared. I think I think stories are almost always shared if there's food around.
Yes.
And I think that's so special. I think there are stories about the food that we're eating. There are then stories that we share just because we're all sitting around a table together. What is your connection with those two things with storytelling and food?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's very much that a recipe is the original oral history. Like that we shared we shared how to do things, but that also shared bits of our family or bits of our location. And I like, you know, I've said I grew up with like a restaurateur dad and a mom who cooked Hamburger Helper, but I also had the grandmother who was like Victory Garden. She canned everything. And I have this like family story of my grandmother made donuts every time I would come visit. She was kind of well known in her community for these cake style donuts, no icing, no powdered sugar, but they were like very heavy on cinnamon and nutmeg, and they were delicious little like 2-bite donuts. And even after my parents were divorced and I would go stay with my dad would often drop me off at my grandmother's house, and like I'd stay a week while I was there visiting the summer. She remembered how much he loved the donuts, and regardless of the status of their marriage, she always made donuts for me to take home to my dad. And when she died, the recipe like got lost in the ether. There were several versions of a donut recipe, and no one could figure out like why they never quite tasted the same as Grammy's donuts did. And it came down to, we were trying to do what we would thought would be the like most delicious thing, which is to put butter in the batter, right? Like butter makes everything taste better.
Absolutely.
But she was always using shortening, and she was frying them in lard, which like it was not the practice for a lot of modern cooks. So it's this the storytelling. It's the story of my family, but it's also like the importance of recipes as memories and story keeping.
Ooh, story keeping. I love that. And then I want to ask, and this, you might have just answered it, but in a more just like broad general sense, why do you think storytelling is so important?
I mean, I like immediately am flooded with so many answers. I think one, it's the record keeping, it's the processing. I think it's really interesting, especially when you share stories with other people, or when you share stories with people who had that experience with you and you find that their memory is like slightly different, or they had a different POV on it. It's like, one, it helps you, it's the processing again, either the emotions or the memories tied to it, or holding on to the memories. Like it connects always, but it also creates empathy, which is really important, like seeing other people's perspectives on even the same topic or the same memory. Or you've now been to Sugarbush. This is my experience at Sugarbush, or the Vermont Country Store. It connects us, but it also like really reveals what is shared in all of our stories and all of our history, kind of like unravels the things that sometimes can make us disconnected. But sharing stories is connection.
Yes. And I think we could use a little more of that personally.
Yes.
I think I'm asking everyone that question, and hearing everyone's answer is so special. It's a little like window into who we are as people. And everyone's had a slightly different answer, but it makes sense for who they are. And I love it so much. Well, Meghan, thank you so much for sharing your stories. I've loved getting to know you. I can't wait to see what takes over Candy Salad very soon.
Yes.
If we want to follow along with your story and everything you got going on, how do we do that?
Yes, I am at Meghan_Splawn on Instagram. And then I have a Substack newsletter, which I send out every week. Sometimes it's stories of motherhood. Sometimes it's easy treat recipes. Oftentimes I share our meal plans or easy meal ideas. It is meghansplawn.substack.com.
Perfect. And she's Meghan, Meghan. Don't get it.
I feel like even if you Googled me, you'd find it. It'll pop up.
It'll come
yes.
Thank you again, Meghan. This has been
fantastic.
fantastic.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.